bring you this now. Today is the one-year anniversary of the passing of Zulu monarch King Goodwill Zwelithini Kabheka Zulu. Now, the succession of the throne has since been characterized by a dramatic series of events that have rocked parts of the royal family. Now, in his will, the late king handed the throne to his wife, Queen Mantfombi Dlamini Zulu, who in turn nominated her firstborn son, Mrs. Zulu, to take over, and that was before her passing. That decision being challenged in court by some members of the royal family. In fact, the legal battle is still ongoing. More context for you. Last year, during the July unrest, political analyst and spiritual healer Gogo Aubrey Matshiqi prophesied that the Zulu royal family would be embroiled in one of the 4 storms to hit South Africa. As you can see on your screen there, Gogo Matshiqi joins us for more on what we should make perhaps of this moment. Toza Gogo, it's lovely to have you on the program. Thanks as always for making time. I still remember clearly your prophecy, and in fact, I happen to have been in a store when we saw the July unrest unfold, and it's what you said that came to mind first. But I wonder, now that a year has gone by since the passing of the king, whether you had envisioned that the turbulence would be this sustained, the fact that it would last this long.
Tozan, good morning. Well, I did expect it to be sustained for this long. And I think what appears to be the appearance of some peace and stability at the moment, notwithstanding some of the squabbles we have heard and have seen during the week about where the ceremony should be held. Beyond this, I still expect more instability. Now, I want to put this in isiZulu, then I will translate. Ubukhosi bufunwa abaphilayo nabangasekho. Ubukhosi bubangwa abaphilayo nabangasekho. In other words, the throne is contested. The monarchy is contested both by those who are living and dead. So when we look at what has happened since the passing on of the late King Zwelithini, we must remember that what has happened here is that the Zulu royal family has had an attack of amnesia about what the monarchy is and also about who is the true monarch. In this way, the monarchy does not belong to a family. The monarchy does not belong to an individual. The monarchy belongs to the nation, which means the Zulu monarchy belongs to the Zulu people. The Zulu people lend the crown to a particular family for the family to run its affairs through the monarchy. What we have seen since the passing on of King Zwelithini is this family, this one family to whom the monarchy has been lent by the Zulu nation, mismanaging and bringing the monarchy into disrepute. Now, if those who are doing battle, labo ababanga ubukhosi, do not stop, what will happen and what we'll see is more instability. And here we are going to see dire consequences for the monarchy. Because what will happen is that the Zulu monarchy as we know it will die. The monarchy of Abenguni will follow. And the monarchy in South and Southern Africa will also follow. So what may happen as a consequence of this one family mismanaging the Zulu monarchy is that the monarchy as we know it in South and Southern Africa itself will die at a time, let me say, at a time when what I foresee is what we call democracy itself being in the process of dying. So if they do not manage the situation carefully, what we will see are 2 things. What I've been shown are 2 things. The death of both the monarchy and what we call democracy, with dire consequences for the nation as a whole.
Wow. Sobering that. if ubukhosi has always been contested, if ubukhosi kade kubangwa, what is it this time that makes it different? Unless, the sentiment is that there had always been a lot at stake, and through history, we just happened to have always chosen the right path, for lack of a better term. But, I mean, you can even hear Abantu when they speak about the history of Ubukhosi, taking us all the way back to Ikati Oshaka Zulu, who at the time of the contestation that was taking place there had said, ultimately, here. In other words, no one ultimately will have this power. And so, yeah, let's bring it back to the question that I'm asking fundamentally about what is it this time that is different, if we do feel that there is something different with Ubukhosi Obangwa manje?
Mkhulu, you have just said something very important. When you invoke the words of Ilembe Inkosi Ushaka, who as he was breathing his last said, ngeke nilibuse lobuswa yinkonjane zezulu, ngeke nilibuse lobuswa amankengane. Amankengane being foreigners. These words are still being interpreted by many as a curse, not only on the Zulu nation, but on all of us. And according to the curse, we will never rule. We will be ruled by foreigners. Now, curses are not cast in stone. Depending on how we exercise our free will, depending on the choices we make, we can change the direction and course of a curse and even cancel it out and even reverse it. Even at this moment when this family is mismanaging the Zulu monarchy, there is still an opportunity for redemption. There is still an opportunity for this for this curse to change direction and be reversed if they do the right thing. So your words are very important because they remind this family about what the monarchy means. And I will say this again, Mkhulu, that the monarchy, the Zulu monarchy, does not belong to this family. The Zulu monarchy belongs to the Zulu nation. It has been lent to them by the Zulu nation. One of the things that might have to happen if this family continues to mismanage the monarchy, one of the things that might have to happen is that the Zulu nation might have to take the monarchy back to itself and decide where it should belong and what it should do with it. I think beyond this moment, this family must think very carefully about this, because if it doesn't, then there is a scenario in which the Zulu nation must countenance the possibility of taking the monarchy back to decide where it should reside if this is not the family in which it should reside.
All right. Now, the presupposition, I guess, in my head is that there is a homogeneous sentiment even among the AmaZulu people. So if the AmaZulu people were to take back the throne, so to speak, how confident are we that that will lead to a solution in a context where I'm sure there's contestation even in that space?
Well, actually, 2 days after the king, Uzolithini, passed on, I had another vision. And the vision was cast in terms of what happened to King Solomon of the Bible. How, first of all, it was prophesied that he would be king, but the same prophet who prophesied that he would be king then prophesied that his kingdom would break up into its component tribes. Now, you are right that we should not look at the Zulu nation as a monolith, because if they were a monolith, there would be no squabble at the moment. There is a squabble within this family, precisely because, first of all, the family is not a monolith, And secondly, the Zulu nation itself is not a monolith. So the consequences of mismanaging this battle, some are even now beginning to talk about in terms of how we talk about the ANC. We are talking about it as a factional battle. The mismanagement of this battle may lead to what we know as the Zulu nation breaking up into the component nations that became the Zulu nation, especially after Inkosi Ushaka put together this nation. So that is the first thing we must be afraid of. Those who are Zulu and those who want to defend and protect the monarchy and therefore protect the Zulu nation must remember that there is a scenario in which what we know as the Zulu nation today breaks up into its component nations precisely because of how this pyramid is not managed. No words again, when you talk about the fact that this nation is not a monolith, are important because even attempts at recalling.
Hello again, and thanks for staying with us. We're marking the 1-year anniversary, if you like, of the passing of the late AmaZulu King Goodwill Zwelithini Kabheka Zulu. And helping us place how we should be viewing this moment in time is Gogo Aubrey Matshiqi, who is quite a familiar face on this platform, political analyst, also spiritual healer. And Gogo, apologies for interrupting you there. You were still outlining, if you like, the kind of approach that specifically Zulu people should have if they have any hopes, ambitions of retaining the throne in its current form, given what's at stake if the throne is mismanaged by the current family, who, if you like, has been bestowed the responsibility of keeping the throne intact.
Well, I was still highlighting the importance of your words when you remind us that the Zulu nation is not a monolith. And what I was highlighting is the possibility that this nation may break up into the component nations that Ilembeleka Amanyamale and Bingo Sushaka put together to create what we now call the Zulu nation. That is not going to be a peaceful process. That is what I fear. It is therefore incumbent on all who are influential in this drama to make sure that what they prioritize are peaceful outcomes. Because it is only through peaceful outcomes that, first of all, the throne, the monarchy can be defended and protected, and that the interests of the Zulu nation can be defended and protected. What you must remember is that if what I am warning of does happen, it will add to another ignominy. The ignominy of monarchies in South and Southern Africa. Monarchies of kings and queens who do not have kingdoms because of colonialism. And now, even after 1994, these monarchies must bow down to what we call democracy, precisely because these are monarchies of kings and queens without kingdoms. And if this one family mismanages the Zulu monarchy, there will be dire consequences, as I said, for the monarchy Yabenguni, for the monarchy in South and Southern Africa as a whole. And that will add salt to injury, the injury of colonialism, the ignominy of kings and queens who do not have kingdoms.
You also mentioned that democracy as we know it is also at stake. But let's look ahead to what the plans are today. And quite frankly, I'm not privy to the exact plans, but I imagine there's going to be some kind of gathering that's taking place, Wakangela Makengane and Kwakecho Mthandayo, all of this in Nongoma. Those are just two of the royal palaces, if you like, with great significance, by the way, especially when we consider the kind of activity that was taking place there this time last year. Those who are influential, as you've put it, what should be their approach to today's proceedings, given what's at stake and given what you've been shown?
Well, so far this week, what we have seen are squabbles about the venue. There are those who argue that in the first place, the body of the late king should not have been taken to Waketom Tandai. They argue, therefore, that this mistake should be corrected by making sure that the ceremony today will take place Kwakangela Mangenga. Now, my own understanding is this, that the primary palace of the late King Uzwelithini, Usenaleni, in the same way that the primary palace of Inkosi Utetshwayo was Ondini. So in a way, the squabble about whether it should be Kangela Mangenga or Waketom Tandayo, that should be the venue, is unnecessary, because the primary palace of the late King Uzwelithini was Enaleni. Therefore, this squabble is unnecessary. But this squabble is symptomatic of the broader problem of these families squabbling over who should be king and who should not become king. Now, what I anticipated is that Amabuto, and I think this did happen from last night, Amabuto would have gathered from last night, and they would have sung Amahubo. There would have been other rituals performed to mark this first anniversary of the passing on of King Zwelithini. But I also expect that today, maybe as an attempt at a compromise, you will see an attempt at a compromise between the so-called traditional and the Christian. There are those within the family who want to foreground Christian rituals. There are those within the family who want to foreground Zulu rituals. I suspect with different events happening between the two palaces, there will be an attempt at a compromise. But I suspect there's a possibility that the main ceremonies will be held at Wakangela Mangenga. But as I said, the primary palace of the King Uzwelithini was Enaleni. Therefore, this squabble about whether it should be Waketom Tandayo or Wakangela Mangengane, that should be the venue, is completely unnecessary.
Sure. Insightful and incisive as always. Gogo Aubrey Matshiqi, thanks very much indeed for your time. We'll hold on to those words as we always have in the past, and hopefully there's some kind of amicable solution.